Is your life in shambles? So oftentimes our life is in shambles, and first we may be in denial. So we just go about life like everything is fine, even though we have like these little whispers that tell us that our life is like crazy. We have little things that are happening. Maybe a bill is overdue. Maybe you hadn't returned phone calls or text messages. There's like little things that are like off. But that's why I love reflecting on the day, reflecting on the week, reflecting on the month, because if you're reflecting on your life, you can easily tell when things are like out of whack. And so if you have, I like the Rocket Money app. Well, I don't like it, but the Rocket Money app, it tells you every single month, like where your money went, where, how much went to food, how much went to, luxury, like where did your money go, all during the month. It tells you like where your money went. It gives you like a report card. And so I think that that is effective in life. We can look every single week. We can stop and say, okay, if I'm documenting, if I got a journal and I'm writing down, okay, what triggered me this week? What was it that upset me? What made me sad? What had me overwhelmed? What had me in this negative spiral, this negative thought spiral? You start looking at this as the report card. So, 30 days out of the month, you're angry at somebody. Then it might be sometime, something to check. 20 days out of the month, you gave somebody silent treatment. Whatever it is that your thing is, because I can go, on and on, right? How many times you overspend? How many times you spend money that you didn't have? You kind of look at it, the month and say, okay, I overspent when I was sad. I overspent when I was overwhelmed. You start looking at this report card of your life, of things that you do, just kind of errors, things that you want to fix. You start saying, okay, I do this when this happens, so maybe if I replace this with this when it happens again, then you can start making changes in your life. You can start saying, okay, I'm gonna replace this bad habit with this positive habit, just one thing at a time. You're just working on it. So if your life is in shambles, you got to start making changes. If things in your life are not the way you want them to be, you got to start making changes. And nothing happens until something happens. So if you want things to change, and you got to change, you got to start doing those things that you need to do, even if you don't want to. So it just might be like one thing at a time. You start changing. You can habit stack. You can put one habit on top of another. Something that you want to change, you could just make the change. And so it is important, if our life is in shambles, if things are not happening the way we want them to happen, we start looking at our life and seeing, what changes can I make? And I think it's important to look at your attitude. What is your attitude about this thing? Is it something about your attitude that's making this thing worse? Is something about the way you look at the situation that makes it worse? So for example, do you expect the best? Like while you're doing everything that you can to make sure it's the best, are you expecting the best? Or are you doing everything you can, but then you're not expecting the best? You're expecting the worst thing that can happen. You're expecting that thing to happen. So you just got to look at yourself and say, okay, if my life is in shambles, and maybe it's not in shambles, maybe you wouldn't describe it as in shambles, maybe there's things that you need to change. So what things can you do? What changes can you start making? I like to put things on paper. So can you write it down? So what's the first change you're going to make, and then what's next? You just start making changes, and you look around, your life will be different. But every single week you got to be looking at, and I even like, every single day I'm looking at what happened yesterday or what happened today. If it's in the evening, what changes do I need to make? What should I have done? What did I learn? How did I grow? And you just start looking at things that you can do to change your life, and then you start making the changes. You start looking at the attitudes, your beliefs about a thing, and so I always think about, I have this financial goal that I'm working towards. And so for a long time, I've been working on this one financial goal. And so what I realized is one day after sitting still is that if I really wanted this financial goal, then I do my actions relate? Do my actions correspond? Am I taking the corresponding actions that I want to happen to, that have to happen in order for me to reach my goal? And so if I'm not taking the corresponding action, do I really believe that I can attain this goal? Do I really believe that I deserve this goal? Do I believe that I'm worthy of this goal? Do I believe that I'm enough to achieve this goal? And so if you're not taking the action to reach whatever goal it is, no matter what it is, financial or otherwise, if you're not taking the action, you got to be thinking, you got to ask yourself, am I taking the action? Am I taking the corresponding action? Because just because you want something is cool, but if you're not taking the action to achieve whatever it is that you want, you're not going to get what you want. It's just not going to happen. You've got to take the action. You've got to change for things in your life to change. So are you taking the necessary action to get the goal that you want?